Hello and welcome to the Ramblings of a 42-Year-Old Man. Chris Smith here with you today, and we're going to do our weekly roundup for this week. A few movies this week, a few books, and a couple games and stuff like that. We'll go through each one individually like we do each week, and we'll talk about things. Main kind of highlight for the week would be the horror movies, The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Talk to Me, both of which were very good. We'll get to that in the TV and movie section, but also a couple really good books. I've been playing a couple video games for the last few weeks that I'll just kind of do a little quick reminder of and where I am so far, and sports. You know, football's coming up, so we'll have a little sports segment too at the end. So continue watching, and we'll be starting off with our TV and movie format.
In the night, it drinks our blood. He is here. We call him Dracula.
He's coming! Did you see the size of that bloody thing? I'm gonna kill the cursed thing.
He is on this ship, which means that we will never leave it.
The devil is real. May God have mercy on us all.
All right, that was The Last Voyage of the Demeter. A little bit of the trailer there. Pretty effective trailer. I don't know if the music is is really indicative of the movie. I'll just say right off the bat, I enjoyed this movie. It is definitely kind of a darker, serious tone. It takes itself very serious. There's not really any fun or camp to this one. And typically I like fun ones a lot more, but this one was really well done. I think the cinematography and the acting and everything, it was almost like a drama that just happened to be this horror thrown into it with Dracula. So this is based off of the small letter that comes in Bram Stoker's Dracula, where it talks about how Dracula voyaged from Romania to England on this ship and what happened to the ship, and this goes into more details of what exactly happened on that voyage. So kind of hard to watch this not knowing the end. If you have any sort of recollections of the story of Dracula, you'll kind of know how this goes, but still it was enjoyable to watch. Like I said, acting was on point. Corey Hawkins was really good in this. He's been mostly, I haven't seen a whole lot of stuff he's in, but I did notice he was in the movie Straight Outta Compton, based on the like NWA and Dr. Dre. He played Dr. Dre in that, so that was pretty interesting. But he did a good job here. Liam Cunningham is in this, and I love Liam Cunningham. He was Sir Davos on Game of Thrones, but I've seen him from back in Dog Soldiers and Centurion and movies like that. He's always brings a lot of gravitas whenever he comes in, but also enjoyable too. He kind of has a really funny sense of humor in Game of Thrones and stuff like that. Here he's playing it pretty dry most of the time, but his acting skills are still, he brings the whole movie up a notch for sure. I will say it's effective. It's pretty scary, pretty brutal, and for me, just kind of the fun part of it was just seeing a very well done horror movie. You could tell this was put together by very well talented people, so that one was a lot of fun. The other big movie of the week is kind of a smaller budget one. This one's called Talk to Me. It's out of Australia, and this one is surprisingly how good it is. It is one of the A24 productions. This kind of a production company that does a lot of these smaller, like really serious, low-key kind of movies. Think of Blumhouse, where Blumhouse usually has fun. A24 is usually kind of dour and serious, but they are really effective sometimes as well. This one is definitely so. This one's a little more fun than some of their usual stuff, I'll be honest. I actually enjoyed the characters quite a lot before all the craziness starts with the horror aspects of it, but it is very effective when it comes to the horror aspects. It's pretty creepy. So, story with this one, there's kind of a ceramic covered, like supposedly mummified hand that if you touch it and you say the words "talk to me," you'll be able to converse with spirits. And if you say I let you in, the spirit can actually possess your body for a certain amount of time. Now, it's not safe to let them in for any more than 90 seconds. So after 90 seconds, you have to let go of that hand or have it pulled away from you in order to disconnect that attachment. Otherwise, crazy stuff can go on, and of course we'll see what happens when crazy stuff goes on. But very effective. Like I said, the characters were great. You really did enjoy them and really felt for them before all the craziness started. And yeah, that one was a lot of fun. That was Talk to Me.
Light the candle to open the door. Blow it out to close it. Put your hand on it. Now say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
Also on the movie front this week, I was able to catch Insidious, The Red Door. Came onto digital this, I think last week. This is the 5th movie of the Insidious series, and this one brings back Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, who were in the original 2. Patrick Wilson actually steps in the director's chair of this one as well. Also coming back is Ty Simpkins, who played the young child Dalton in the original one as well. He's now grown up. He's going off into college in this movie. The focus of the story is primarily on his character and the Patrick Wilson dad character and kind of their relationship. And kind of at the end of the original Insidious first 2 films, they had been kind of hypnotized into forgetting all the events that happened. And in this one, we're kind of seeing that wasn't great. All these memories were repressed and buried, but they're trying to come out, and of course craziness ensues, and you go from there. This one was a lot of fun too. This one was I thought pretty well done for Patrick Wilson, maybe for the first time stepping behind the director's chair. These movies have been kind of the first one was definitely pretty intense and creepy. It was James Wan, so he does a great job. He's done the Conjuring movies and stuff like that as well. But I've kind of seen the direction of them as each one came out just kind of declining a little bit, which will happen when you get up to the 5th movie in a series usually. But this one I thought was pretty good. It was kind of a little bit of an upswing, and not as high as the original ones, but kind of bringing it back from kind of the 3rd and 4th one I didn't think were all that good. This one I enjoyed, just a good time. Nothing great, nothing amazing, but solid. I will say the ending, I don't want to say rushed, but it seems like we did a whole lot of kind of build up, and then the part that actually takes place with like all the supernatural stuff was like boom, like last 10 minutes, and it was all kind of done. It happened. It kind of seemed to go fast, so a little more there I would have maybe liked. Also this week was Incident at Loch Ness, which is kind of a mockumentary feature about a investigation into the Loch Ness Monster. The cool thing with this one is it involves Werner Herzog, who is a really interesting film director. He's done so many old German films with Klaus Kinski, and he's a very crazy character. He supposedly on set, him and Klaus Kinski tried to kill each other on multiple occasions and stuff, and just very kind of eccentric, but very cool. He was on The Mandalorian, the first season as well, doing a character. And anyway, he's a lot of fun. And so this is pretty much portraying like he's out there trying to film the serious documentary debunking Loch Ness, but then he's also got Zach Penn, who's kind of a Hollywood screenwriter, along for the journey too. And so Zach Penn is trying to make this into a real, like, we found the Loch Ness Monster, but he's trying to fake things. And along the way, guess what? The Loch Ness Monster pops up. Go figure. This was a lot of fun. I've been kind of pulled this one up because I was looking into some research for doing kind of a found footage video. I want to do kind of a video around found footage films, especially because a lot of them are horror. There's a lot of things to go over with that. And I came across this one. I'm like, I have not seen this. I'm gonna pop it in. It was on the Roku channel of all things. I was able to watch it on. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Almost maybe more comedic than horror for sure. But the Werner Herzog, he's just such a character. He's fun to watch. But that one I enjoyed quite a bit. And that kind of takes us through movies for the week. We'll jump into things I read. We got a few books to talk about. All right, when it comes to books, first thing this week was another Stephen Graham Jones offering. He did My Heart is a Chainsaw, Don't Fear the Reaper, which are two of my favorite horror books of recent years. I love those two books. I also loved his werewolf take in Mongrels. This one is kind of a interesting, he kind of does this style sometimes. The Last Final Girl is one of his. He did this too, where it's almost like you're reading a script, and it is kind of supposed to be like this is a script of a novelization of a movie, and this is a movie trilogy. This is supposed to be pretty much a novelization of each of the movies in this trilogy, but it reads like a script. The point of view is this character, and it very much feels like you're reading a script. But what was interesting about this is I like how it's a kind of a trilogy of movies, and you can kind of see like Stephen Graham Jones is always kind of influenced by like old slasher films and stuff. My Heart is a Chainsaw is purely slasher based, inspired by and this is very similar to that, where your first movie is kind of your Halloween or your Friday the 13th, kind of sets everything up, and then the second part of it takes place in the hospital. It's very Halloween 2 feeling, kind of, and starts opening up the backstory and everything, and then by the third one it's bringing it all back together and kind of a return to form of the first one and stuff. And it felt like some sort of a horror movie trilogy you would probably have caught in the late 70s, early 80s. Very fun. Involves gargoyles and possible demons or possible vampires. You really never get a full setting exactly what it is that's happening, but there's creatures, and there's people being turned, and there's people who get bit and they start changing. So it's definitely kind of a mixed max of different things, but well done, as all of his stuff. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Not to the highs of like Mongrels or Don't Fear the Reaper or My Heart is a Chainsaw, but still really, really fun. I like everything I've read of his now, and I really enjoy. Next we have Silver Nitrate, which is the newest one by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. She's best-selling author of Mexican Gothic, and she's has a few horror novels that I've read over the years. This one was it good? I enjoyed the characters in this more than the story itself. Montserrat and Tristan are two really compelling characters to read about, but the story is kind of this lost old horror film, and it involves like a wizard and black magic kind of being done through film. And anyway, the story is interesting, but the characters themselves are really the draw to this one. So I enjoyed that one quite a bit. It's called Silver Nitrate. And then the last book on the week is called Burn the Negative. I just actually finished this one last night. This is by Josh Winning. Just came out this year. And this one, again, not cursed film per se, but there was a old either movie or TV show or whatever that kind of think of Poltergeist. They made this movie, and then all the actors or people that worked on the show start dying. Like 8 total people from the movie have died over the years. So kind of going in that this movie's cursed, kind of like Poltergeist or The Exorcist, things like that. And then they're starting to remake it into a TV show, and craziness starts happening again. And it kind of goes from there. This one I enjoyed. Again, good characters. I really liked it. Right up until the ending. I did not particularly care for the ending very much, but the rest of the book was definitely worth the ride. I just thought the final 15-20 pages were unnecessary, but that's just kind of how that goes. The book itself was still worth listening to. I did this with audio. Audio work was really well done, because there's characters that are British, and there's characters who are British that also used to live in America, so sometimes their accents go back and forth, and the narrator really pulled that off. She had a whole lot of different accents going on. She did a great job. So that gets us through books. We'll look at, I'll talk about one podcast that I've been listening to. Well, I've listened to it forever, but I want to kind of highlight it here before we get into video games. And so the one podcast I want to highlight this week is called Colors of the Dark. Colors of the Dark. And this is with Dr. Rebecca McKendry and Elric Kane. Elric Kane. I love that name. Elric Kane just sounds so cool. Anyway, Rebecca McKendry, you might recognize the name if you watched my weekly roundup. Just last week, I watched a movie that she directed called Glorious. But she's kind of a film scholar. They're both really film scholars, and they go kind of deep into specific things in the genre. You'll have an episode where they talk about lesser known slasher films and what prompted the genre. Then they'll get into psychological stuff, and then they'll talk about just crazy movies that you've never even heard of. It's they actually kind of originated with a podcast called Shocksploitation. It's kind of talked about all these older kind of hard to find cult films and stuff. But now they're digging deeper into this with Colors of the Dark. And anyway, what I love about it is it puts a whole lot of movies on my radar that I'd never heard of before. So it's a lot of fun to listen to them. So it's kind of it for the podcast front. I haven't done a ton of new podcasts. The podcasts I've been listening to, we've already talked about because they just keep coming out every week. So I'll just keep listening. But with that, we'll talk about a couple of video games that I've been playing through, and we'll finish up with sports. All right, so video games. Nothing new really to talk about with video games. I am still playing through Star Wars Knights of the Republic 2, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and Final Fantasy 6. I've kind of been alternating. Like, I'll play one day, one the next, and one's on the Switch is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and then Final Fantasy 6 I'm playing the one on my phone. Now, I am playing so they came out with all the pixel remasters. We've talked about this on our Final Fantasy videos a lot. But they came out with pixel remasters of all of Final Fantasy 1 all the way up through 6. And I played the pixel remaster version just last year. This year I'm playing the original, not original, but the one that they released on iPhone before the pixel remasters. And the reason why, that's kind of a port of the Game Boy Advance version, which has a bonus dungeon at the end, some extra summon spells and stuff that you can get, and just kind of extra stuff that wasn't on the original game or on the pixel remaster. And I like those those additional dungeons. So that's why I'm playing that one. There's a dungeon at the end where you use all 12, well, you have 14 characters. You can use 12 of your 14 characters to make 3 different parties that go around this big dungeon, which is kind of like how the final dungeon is, but this is a bonus dungeon. You do the same thing. I really enjoy that because it gives you a lot of character work. You're working with all these characters that you've spent a lot of time going and recruiting and finding and getting onto your team. You know, why not let you use them all? So it gives you an incentive to actually use all the characters instead of just your favorite 4. And I like that a lot. So that's why I'm playing through that version. I'll probably be wrapping up the Final Fantasy 6 one relatively soon. KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic 2 is a pretty big game. I don't know that it's bigger than Final Fantasy 6. I think I've played Final Fantasy 6 so many times that I've just kind of breezed through it pretty solidly. The Star Wars one's taking me a little bit longer to get through, so that might take me another couple weeks. But Final Fantasy 6 I'll probably be wrapped up by the end of the week. So that's really it for the game front. We'll see if I start rolling out some new games here soon. We'll talk about those. But we'll finish up real quick with a sports minute. Don't have any new games to talk about when it comes to sports, but we'll talk about some other things. All right, so last week was the start of preseason. There were a whole lot of preseason games over the weekend. We already talked about the Texans one because it happened on Thursday. This week, the Texans don't play until Saturday against the Dolphins, so we'll talk about that on next week's Roundup. But I do want to mention fantasy football because this is the big-time fantasy football season. I always try to wait until at least after the second preseason game to start worrying about doing a fantasy football draft because players get hurt. Players who might be having contract negotiations, might hold out. You got people like Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott who just this last week signed with the team, so now I know where those people should be drafted. So David and I are going to go ahead and join a league together and do that over the weekend. Work has a league that we'll be working on as well, and then I'll probably do another league just by myself, joining up with ESPN. I like their leagues. I'm used to the format, so I just do the ESPN league. So that being said, that's kind of my focus when it comes to sports right now. Football's rolling around again. We'll have a whole lot of a whole lot of more preseason games this weekend. Next week will be the last week of the preseason, and then we finally get into the regular season. Texans start off with Baltimore. That's going to be a tough one, but excited. Always fun to watch. Me and David really do get a lot of bonding time over football, so that's pretty fun too. Good to hang out with my boy. That's all I got when it comes to sports. All I got when it comes to the weekly roundup. So thank you guys as always for listening. We'll talk again soon. I am working on trying to get that found footage episode put together. Kind of a little bit of work, so it may take me a week or two to get that put together. And then we'll talk about some other things as we go along. So again, thank you for watching. We'll talk again soon. Bye.